Hello and welcome to Flooring Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Airfix's 72nd scale Nimrod from 2008. Now it's a bit of a strange kit, this one, because let's face it, when it got released in 2008, it was like, wow, that's brilliant, it's great. But I don't think they sold them particularly well, purely because maybe it's just a British aircraft, things like that. But at the end of the day, it is a very much large lump, obviously based from back in the day on the Comet and things, so classic era. And if you're like me, of a child of the 70s, you would have seen a lot of these bimbling around air shows, or as I was lucky enough to live this part of the world, flying over the house. So again, one of those things. Don't think it sold particularly well, because I picked this one up for £15 at an air show when they had a pile of about 100 of them at some stockist. So I got this one really, really cheap back in the day, and we've never seen a rebox of it or anything else like that, or any sort of future releases from it. So whatever happened to the Nimrod, I don't know. Now, they've probably gained a bit of traction showing this, and it's probably worth a few quid. But I've had this one in the stash. As you can see, it's faded somewhat around the box and things, because literally it's been in my stash pile since 2008 and not done anything with it. And again, recently we did a live vote for my next video build, and this one came out on top. So we're going to be building this one next. But I thought it'd be good to do a review. Now, we did do a review of a kit back in the day, in around about 2008, but that was part of the shows when they were part of a Friday show. So we used to have two reviews as part of a Friday show. If you go back far enough, you can find it. But again, it'd be one of those ones where it'd be quite difficult. So I thought a standalone video, we can see what we get out of what is actually not a bad kit. Yes, it has some fit issues. Yes, I've spoken to a few people who have put this thing together, and I don't think anyone's put one together for a long time. So I thought it might be well worth having a look. So in the box, classic one. So as I say, it's depending, how old you are, you'll know them through different colours as they did. Basically, the Nimrod went through sort of three colours, if you like. We went through the grey and white, the standard sort of 70s colours, 80s colours. Then they went through the hemp, which is this type of colour here. And then obviously they went right the way through to the grey at the later one. There was supposed to be a new version of this that came out, which had a new radar at the front and at the back and all the rest of it, re-engined and all the rest of it. And I remember seeing it RIAT just before it got cancelled. So again, a little bit of a shame. It has seen action. Obviously, it saw action down in the Falklands Theatre, and obviously it saw it in the Gulf during Operation Granby and things like that, where it was doing maritime and surveillance work as well. Again, it's a jack of all trades type maritime aircraft. Primary role was obviously submarine hunting, but search and rescue, things like that, and obviously rescue as well was pretty much its forte for going out, spending long stints over the North Sea, having a bimble round and all the rest of it. So again, really, really nice. A couple of interesting facts. It's got probably one of the brightest lights ever fitted to an aircraft. I can't remember how many billion candle watt that thing had, but it could illuminate a football field very, very clearly, like daylight from a long way away. So again, quite an interesting bit of kit. So in the box, or around the box, I don't think there's much on here, to be honest, because it's very much old school for this. Kit number for this one's 12050. Oh, look, there we go. There's the markings. We'll have a proper look at those in a moment. You can see the different ones down in there like that. So, in the box, which is a box within a box, but we can do it in one, we are greeted by, that's it there, we've got the instructions, and obviously we've got the kit part. So what I'll do is I'll just have to make quite a bit of room for this. We'll move that over there, out the way, and then we can have a look down in these. So on the old instructions front, it's a little bit old school with this one. So what we'll do, we'll just go through. It's the old-fashioned Airfix ones. So if you imagine, so it's in the old black and white and all the rest of it. Cockpit, there's not a lot to it, but to be honest with you, the windows are quite small in this thing. You're not going to see much in here, so probably be quite adequate for what it actually is. But we do get some little air crew in there as well. As I say, we've got the nose wheel system being fitted down into there as well. We've got a sort of rudimentary sort of system with bulkheads and that running right the way through that it goes on to. And as you can see, they're going to come in here in windows. There's no actual cabin or anything else. But again, you're not going to see too much down in here at all. All right, rudder section goes in, so it is a separate rudder. Then we've got the main gear. And then obviously we've got things like the flaps that are going to be going onto this one. And then we've got the intakes and engines. Now the intakes and engines can be a little bit of a handful to get together to fit in seamlessly, because they're not going to. So when we do this build, we'll be looking at that quite closely and the best ways to do it. There was aftermarket stuff available for this one in the tape. I think there was intakes, and I think there was a bomb bay as well, and some wheel wells and things like that as well. But from our point of view, we're going to go totally out of the box. The wing section, as you can see, has got a lower area containing the sort of the bomb bay underneath, and then we've got the wings going on the top. So we get the flaps installed, the wheel wells installed down into those, and obviously those intakes into there just like that. Then at the back, we've actually got the tails, so fitting those on and putting them as well. A couple of holes to open up down in those ones, and then that entire fuselage section goes and marries up with the main wing section. Again, it's quite a nicely join on that, so we'll be looking at that one. Gear going in and various bits onto the bottom. We've got the tails being fitted into that one as well. As I say, the bomb bay is very rudimentary. If you did want to go off, you could probably get, I think it's Black Dog did it or something like that, do a resin bomb bay for it. But again, I'm not worried about that one at all. If you do want to open and close, up to you. You can do that one as well. So you can get all of those fitted then. Clear parts fitting in as well. Apparently they're not exactly brilliant going in there, so we'll have a go with that. We've got the doors being fitted, the air-to-air refueling probe, and then obviously we've got the bits fitted onto the wingtips. We've got torpedoes, we've got missiles, and various things, step charges going down in here. You can even give it an air-to-air loadout, so it's got some protection with some sidewinders, and we've got a chaff and flare dispenser as well. I think it's the old Buzz Pod. Same one as what the Tornado carried as well. So you have got a little bit of weaponry for this one. As I say, torpedoes, depth charges, whatnot, all being fitted down into the middle. Various holes to open up. We've got a stinger on the tail, or a MAD, or a metal anomalies detector down there at the back as well to be fitted on. And again, so depending if you're doing an MR1 version or the MR2, again, you've got the different setups for the loads that it actually has down in here. All right. Then obviously we've got various lumps and bumps being fitted with the different versions. Lots of aerials, and again, depending on which version you're doing, has different aerials. So we say you've got the Maid of Moray. So yes, again, just keep an eye out for these ones as you're going right the way through for all the different versions and things in here. Certainly things to look at as well. If you're doing the R1 version, which was the late version, I do believe, and that one, as I say, doesn't have certain windows into it. They're painted over and various things down in there like that. If you like the stencils, then you're going to love it because it's covered in them. So as you can see, lots of stencils and various things for the different versions as well, depending if what version you're doing of this one, of the MRs and the actual R1s and things like that. Speaking of which, we have down in here, we've got the MR1, which is the version I'm planning on doing, which will be this one with the nice grey and the white, the sort of classic scheme, if you like, right the way through. We've got the MR2 as well with the hemp. So it's a little bit later, I think, Gulf War. All right, MR2 down in there like that. And then you've got the very late ones, which is obviously the ones before they're sort of going into retirement phase as well down in here. So we've got the ones at Kinloss and Waddington down in here like that. So again, some nice little options down in there as well. And this particular one, we are donating to Malta to go in their museum as well. So a nice little one with that. So into the kit itself. So this is why we're in wide angle mode. Oh, we've got one little thing just to look at. We've got the decals. So as you can see, we've got the decals down in here as well. So we've sort of got the difference in the markings. We've got the classic markings, the low vis type markings. And again, lots of stencil data, which are really the old shiny ones. As you can see, this is the old gloss ones. So you need a flat coat on this to nail them down. So put a gloss coat down first, then we'll decal, then we'll flat coat it afterwards. Okay, so the reason for having your camera so wide is because you've got to get this in. So it's big, huge old sprue, as I say. It's a big aircraft, but these are massive sprues. All right, so if we start with the fuselage, so again, we can whip these protective ones off. Into these. Okay, as you can see, very, very large lumps. And again, the plastic itself is that very hard one. It's not the soft plastic, this is the hard plastic. So think of this as the last of the sort of the Airfix ones before they changed into their more modern guise. And again, it's a shame we haven't seen this kit back. From a point of view of the actual detail on the surface, there's not a great deal. We've got panel lines down in here, but there's no riveting or anything else like that. again, it may be something I'll add on to this one. We'll go through and rivet it when we do. All right. So we've got the escape hatches down in here. There's a little bit of recessing around those, which is quite nice. But generally, the shape is pretty good on this. You know, as for accuracy, I don't know. But again, things like down in the wheel well, we have 0 detail. So in my mind, I'm probably not going to have mine with the bombays open. It will be closed. All right. But again, it just shows how big this lump is. So when you've got the stinger on the tail, this thing's going to be at least, for the smaller version of it, around about 51 centimeters, with it all in, maybe sort of nearer 55. So again, it's going to be quite a large lump. Internally, again, there's nothing really going down on here, but hopefully the bulkheads will give this quite a nice bit of strength. We've got the running on the floor and everything. So this bay down in here will go in here, meet up with the wings, and we'll be okay. All right, but generally not too bad. All right, now over to the main wing section. As you can see, it's all in one piece and there's no strength to this whatsoever. All right, so we'll just try and keep this flat. What we do have, though, is actually some quite nice underside details here for all the inspection hatches on the wing. All right, as you can see, we've got the inspection hatches, little bits of detail down underneath there, that nice gentle curve from the intakes down to those engines, right the way over like that. And again, the actual main parts for the flaps, the gear doors, intakes and things like that are pretty nice. But again, the intakes, I don't know how much you're going to see, but they are pretty rough inside. You can probably see there's a little bit of roughness down in there compared to the modern ones. Same go with the inside to the wings. But generally, the ejector pins are all on the recessed parts of them, so it shouldn't be a problem. Just good cleanup on these edges is pretty much essential. All right. So looking very, very nice like that. Then we've got the tops of the wings. As you can see, again, really, to be honest, it's a good starting place, but we have got the odd little sink mark down in here. Obviously, you could call that stress. You can actually feel it. It's a little bit ripply. But generally, we've got the vortex generators, which in this scale, I don't think are too bad. We could probably get away with them. All right, so that's not too bad at all. So I think we'll actually be all okay with those ones. We've got a little bit of detail, which is what's causing the actual sinkage onto those ones. But that's pretty good. And then again, at the top, we've got those ones. Again, quite nice. The bomb bays, as again, in one piece, or you've got them in 2 piece. So again, if you're doing it as one, that's fine. But unfortunately, if you are having the bomb bays open, we have got ejector pins all the way through. Think old job. Again, stinger for the back, depending on which version you're doing. That one's down in there as well. All right, so again, and again, there's not a million parts to this, which is quite nice. So it should come together quite quickly. Okay, so down internals, we have a matched pair, I do believe, which it is. So if we just whip one of these off, which is our little side winders. And again, the thing is, the side winders themselves, these are not going to win any awards. So if we move that one out of the way, because that's a dual. But if we move around sprue E, we can see got some nice work, detailed work on the hubs and the wheels, things like that. We've got those blades, for the compressor blades for the engine, torpedoes, depth charges, things like that. So the sidewinders, I don't know what version they're supposed to be. I think they're supposed to be a Lima or a Mike, but they're very, very crude. So I'd definitely go after market if you're looking at those. And again, pretty much everything inside the weapons bay is very, very crude anyway. All right. To be honest with you, the pitot tubes are even a little bit crude and things like that. But again, I think we can make it work, thin them down a little bit. They should be fine. But again, when you look at the seats, yeah, no awards anywhere on this one. All right. So over on sprue D, we've actually got these are the wingtip sensors down onto here, and a few other lumps and bumps, as you might imagine, down onto this one, right the way over. Got some harpoon missiles down in there, and again, that's your crew, which again, they're a little bit crude. Chances of seeing anything is pretty non-existent. The gear itself, it's okay, but again, a little bit crude for its scale. But there we go, nose gear and things like that. Last up, we've got the clear parts. So the clear parts. So again, we've got the front cockpit. Down in here like this. Actually, clear parts look pretty clear. No problem at all. You've got a nice good edging on this, so masking is going to be really straightforward because it's pretty much countersunk down in there and things like that. We've actually got the lights. So this is that giant searchlight, and obviously we've got all the windows down in here, which got really nice big outer areas, which means masking should be pretty straightforward, and obviously fitting those in as well. And again, wingtip lights, things like that, pretty straightforward on that one. So yeah, it's showing its age just a little bit. It's a 17-year-old kit at the end of the day. And I think when you look at some of the points in there, some of the details, they're not up to today's standard at all. But again, this is something that was probably worked on around about 2005 and things like that. So again, if you look how far we've come really in the last 20 years, I think that really makes, just shows you, how far it has come. And especially when people say about, oh, kits aren't moving forward. Well, look at that from 20 years ago. It's very basic. But from our point of view, I think what we're going to do with this one is a light little bit of riveting work on this one, just to liven it up and all the rest of it. And I think what we can do is we can actually really, really bring this one to life. I've got a feeling they might even do it gear up and all the rest of it, because this has got to be transported and it will be a nightmare. So I'm thinking maybe gear up might be nice on a nice stand as well. So showing off the Nimrod as it loves to be over the sea and doing its bit as well. So yeah, I might think about doing that way. I have to have a word with the people. Anyway, that is the classic, I suppose you'd call it now, 1/72 Nimrod from Airfix.